Okay, everyone, I think more or less everyone's here. Um, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All I want to do today is, like I said in my email, just have a little workshop to clear up these confusions about what the readings are. And then we'll delve in fully and follow the course schedule more directly next week. I thought I had solved all these problems with Canvas and uploading and Panopto and things like that, but I haven't. So why don't I first just show you what I've done on Canvas, and then I can start taking questions. This morning's class had lots of good questions about the difference between the two books and stuff like that. So I think it's better if I ask, better if I wait to hear your questions to see what problems people might be having. All right, so let me do the share screen situation, yada, yada, yada. Okay. I suppose you can all see that, yeah? What I want to show you is, if we look at our course, I've done two things. One is under modules, right? Because I think it's easier to get the books, to figure out the books this way. I've put both the American Yawp main text and the American Yawp reader. I don't know why all this stuff is duplicated in your section. Let me just delete it. Delete that, because otherwise it'll look silly. Delete that and delete that. Okay. And I realized this morning when talking to the other students that one of the reasons why you might be confused is the American Yawp, both different books kind of look the same or look very similar. So let me just try this new method where it's in the module and I click and you see the American Yawp, right? This is the book, which takes you right to this page here. Now, it also says here that there's a primary source reader, right? That means you can go to it from this page as well, but we have in the modules also a link to the reader this way. Oh, forget that. Okay. The difference is the American Yawp reader has a picture of the Declaration of Independence on the top, but also it says it right there at the very, very top. Okay, so that's perhaps an easier way to find the material than before. Now, the difference between the two books is, and of course, books because they're online, even though they have the same chapter numbers and the same chapter titles, is that the American Yawp textbook chapters, if I click on Indigenous America, which we were going to talk about this week, it's the narrative history written by the authors of this book. Okay, so you read this like you would any normal textbook. It doesn't look like pages because it's online, but it's written like any other textbook. It's exactly like the real book, which is here, the paperback, I mean the actual physical book. Actually, this is volume 2. Oh, never mind. And this is the chapter, this is the textbook chapter that you were assigned to read for today. Now remember, today is sort of, we're we're throwing everything out the window today, and sort of getting all this started. So we're not going to talk about it today. And then also, in addition to the chapter, you will be asked every week to read documents in the reader for that week's reading. So for today, for instance, it would have been Indigenous America. Okay, now notice again the American Yawp Reader. And what this is made up of documents, historical documents, about the period we're talking about. Now, these documents are things, these are primary sources. These are sources that come from the time period that historians use. They take all these things, and as many as they can, often thousands and thousands of them, and read them all and analyze them and put them together and write out the chapters that you read here. This stuff comes from documents like these. So for instance, just take the first one, Native American Creation Stories. Okay, in this document, you have a very brief description of what it is, what they are, and then you have a transcription of this Native American creation story, right? And then you have a transcription of this one, right? These are two primary sources. Okay, primary means they were written more or less at or very near the time, and secondary sources are what are built from primary sources. That is this stuff on the in the textbook. Okay. Now, I want to say, before I go any further, that when it comes to history classes and when it comes to Native American studies and when it comes to ethnography and anthropology and things like that, the terms Native American and Indian are more or less used synonymously. The reason is that Indian is a term you will use, was a term used at the time to describe Native Americans. Not by Native Americans themselves, obviously, but other people called them Indians. Right? So it's perfectly acceptable scholarship-wise to say Indians or Native Americans. Either way, it might not be, depending on which sort of group of people you happen to be with or talking at the time, it might not be preferable anymore to use the term Indian. So it's a sort of technical way that historians use the term. In the same way we say, historians, when we're talking about the American, the Negro Leagues, American baseball played by African Americans before integration, those were called the Negro Leagues. And we use them, and when we talk about that in a historical context, we still use hang on, let me let people in. We still say Negro Leagues. Or when we talk about the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, we use the term that was used at the time, because neither of those terms at the time were pejorative, and Indian at the time was not necessarily pejorative. You might very well in today, in the 21st century, find yourself, if you use the word Negro, you might find yourself in an uncomfortable situation because someone might take it as an insult. If you use the term Indian, someone might take it as an insult. But within the context of this academic study, these words are synonymous, if you know what I mean. So that's why throughout these readings, you'll see both people at the time using the term Indian and also historians using the term Indian. Okay, so don't worry about that if you had a question like that. And I sort of got off track there. But the other thing I put up in the modules is Indigenous America trial run discussion questions. These are the discussion questions that you would have been asked to prepare for today. Okay, I want to click on. So when the normal Indigenous America module gets put up there, right? And I haven't done that because of the problems with Canvas and Panopto, but it's going up tomorrow. This would have been in there. This will be in there. And you'll see things like these questions, right? Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the semester, well, Tuesday, whatever, each of you will be assigned in groups, sort of, to address one of these questions. So I don't know, the folks with last names starting with between A and C will handle mostly question 1. D to G, you know, however it works out in terms of the number of students we have. So what I'll be asking you to do is to answer these questions, is to read all of the material, but to concentrate on the specific question assigned to your name and your group. Okay, now it isn't on this one because we're not gonna do this because of the screw ups. Okay, but on next week's whoops, that's the wrong syllabus. Oh, wait a minute, maybe that's not the wrong syllabus. Sorry, next week's thing, Colliding Cultures. This also goes up Friday or Saturday, that is tomorrow or the next day. You'll have your discussion questions ready, already there, and your names will be assigned to these different questions. Okay. Now, before I go too far and get ahead of myself, does this make sense? Does this you see what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyone not realize what I'm trying to do here? I may not be as clear as I should be because I said it this morning, so I might be, you know, it's difficult to repeat yourself. You tend to, I think I said something to you and it turns out I said it to the morning class. Okay. Then let me tell you how to address these questions. The first thing you should address these weeks, right? The first thing you should do, and I'm letting you in on a behind the scenes little trick here. And that is, whenever a textbook is assigned, the publisher, the authors and the publisher give us, the instructors, called instructor resource materials of some kind. Okay. Now, usually you can't see those things because they give us like multiple choice quiz questions and the answers and all that stuff. So normally that doesn't, students aren't able to access that. But with the American Yacht, because it's an open source book, at least for the authors, you can see if you scroll down here something called teaching materials. And if you click on teaching materials, okay, you see a whole bunch of different things. For instance, these are the 2 syllabi from these places. These are 2 sample syllabi from different universities where this book is used. Here are more readings. Some of them are complete, like the autobiography of Ben Franklin is the complete version, not just the one that's in the reader. The Incidents, Life of a Slave Girl, the same thing, right? You get the whole thing, not just one sliver of a document. Let me just show you what I mean by that. If you wanted to read it, this is the actual book, see? Okay. So it would be, for instance, this, I might assign this 1 year as a book. Okay. But the thing I wanted to show you is that, see, and here they give us quizzes, they give us essay assignments, they give us exams. Now, I don't do my exams this way in this course, but what I do is you click on discussion questions, bada bing, you see this should look pretty familiar to you. Why does it look familiar to you? Because it's the same as this. Am I going too slow or going too fast or anything like that? It's hard to tell with this online business. Everybody following me?
Yep.
Now, why would I do that? Why would I just copy these questions that the authors put in there into my questions? Because I want to make sure that because these questions have been vetted and they've been going, that they go over them, and they have other editors go over them, and they look and make sure that all these things are explained. The answers for all these things are to be found in the American Yawp and the American Yawp Reader. So if I were to come up with my own questions, it would be very, very likely that I would put in questions just by sheer osmosis that I know through my research and my teaching over the years that aren't necessarily in the book, because they might be too detailed, or they might be slightly out of chronology with what we're talking about that week. So that's why in survey courses like this, where we're not reading a lot of high-level graduate school level books, I make sure to follow the publisher's lead this way. It's more fair for you, much more fair for you. Okay. Now, you will find, lo and behold, that those questions, these questions for next week, these questions for the following week, will be practically identical to the questions you're assigned for discussion, and they will be practically identical, frankly, to the questions that make up that are the questions on the essay assignment. So we're really going to hammer this stuff home in this class. What I want you to, this is odd. Why is that? Yeah, there's something wrong with that. What I really want you to understand, I really want you to know this stuff deep down. Okay, so we're going to hammer it home. So I'm not worried at all that you might go ahead of time in class and look at the questions you're going to be asked. That's fine with me. I want you to know that. We're going to go all the way up to the end of the Civil War here. Okay. Because I think in a survey class, an introductory class, it's important for you to get all this stuff down and to know it very well. Now, how do you do that? Well, you could just read your chapters. Whoops. Okay, say, all right, this week we're doing Indigenous America, so I'm going to read this chapter. Read. Enjoy. It's not raining. The weather. Blah, 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 read this. Oh, and then Kuhil also wants me to read these documents, so I'll read the documents. Whoops. I read the documents. I'll read these. I'll read the Journal of Christopher Columbus. This is obviously not the whole journal. It's just a few extracts. Aztec account of a Spanish attack. Thomas Morton, Virgin of Guadalupe. Right, this explorer's travels through North America. You could read all of those, and then think about them. Think about how they help you understand this basic material. That's one way to do it. However, my strong suggestion is that when you get your questions, your discussion questions, and they have your names after them. So, you know, this says Samantha and Brandon and David and whatever group is assigned number one, whatever group is assigned number two. The first thing you do before you start the week's work is you go find your question. Okay, now I want everybody to read everything and to be able to talk about everything, but I really want you to focus on your question. So Brandon, you're assigned you're one of the people who's assigned how did Indian culture change over time? You're a smart guy, so the first thing you do when you start a new week in my class is you go and find out what's the question I'm supposed to talk about. I'm supposed to be the expert about on discussion day. Boom, it's Indian culture. How does that change over time? The second thing you do is go to the reader. Okay. And find, I wonder what things would tell me about the ways in which I might learn about the ways in which Indian culture changed over time. Okay. And a lot of these do that. The Native American creation stories were written at different times. The Aztec account of a Spanish attack is a different time. These all sort of explain, these all talk about Native Americans. They talk about indigenous peoples throughout in North America from different accounts, from different standpoints. This is a Native American view. This is a Native American view. These other ones are, this is an Aztec view. This is, other ones are from European explorers and settlers and colonizers. So you're getting lots and lots of different views of what's going on. So as you're reading that, and then as you're reading this, Brandon, for instance, keep your question in mind. You're reading the whole chapter. You understand the whole chapter, but as you go through everything about the chapter, every time it shows up about what was Native American culture like and how did it change, take little notes on that. You're the expert on that. You're the one who's supposed to talk about that. Okay, so I sometimes describe this as working backwards. You want to work backwards from the question. This is a student study strategy. Okay, I'm not asking you to memorize the whole chapter. That would be silly. Well, it would be impossible. But so focus on your question, and then as you're reading the whole chapter, because you do have to read the whole one, make notes about how it relates to your question. Now, what does that mean further than that? Further than that means Brandon is going to be able to talk about how did Indian culture change over time very well for Brandon and all his buddies for question one during the discussion of that. But also, lo and behold, if how did Indian culture change over time happens to pop up on the exam, on the essay assignment as one of the questions you can choose, boom. You've been working on this for a while now. You already know. You've already done the groundwork. You've already started to build up an understanding through reading and taking notes. Okay. Do you see what I mean? Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Just to let you in on another little professor's secret, this is also the way I strongly suggest you, if you're going to go to graduate school, if you're going to go to med school, if you're going to go to law school, that you approach the tests that you have to take to get into those places, the GRE, the MCAT, the LSAT. You read the questions first, and then you go back to the extract, the reading extract, and search for the answers. Okay. Now, having said all that, I still want you to know, even though Brandon's going to answer how did Indian culture change over time, I also want him to know enough about the Columbian Exchange in order to be able to contribute to the discussion somewhat about that. So Brandon knows about the Columbian Exchange, but he's an expert on this question. Samantha knows about the Columbian Exchange, but she's an expert on what motivated European exploration and colonization, because that's what she was specifically assigned in her group. Okay, so David Coleman knows about the Colombian. No, David Coleman knows how Indian culture changed over time, but he's an expert on what was the Columbian Exchange and how did it change the world. And then just on and on from there, if you understand what I mean. So the way this document is going to work, the way it's going to work from this weekend onwards is the colliding cultures thing. We'll have questions just like this, and we'll have your names after the questions. That's how you get your discussion points. But again, like, I'm sorry to keep flogging a dead horse over this, but like everything in college, I think you need to make sure to double dip. And I'm structuring this course in that kind of way. You get your discussion points mainly from the question that's assigned to you. The question that's assigned to you very, very well may show up on the essay test, right? So you're getting more bang for your buck than you would if I just asked you one general question: describe indigenous America. Well, you could write a book on that. That way, it would be unfair for me to grade you on something that vague and broad. Okay, so let me stop there and ask for questions about that. Now, the reason why I wrote trial run questions here is because we're not gonna actually discuss these questions. It's just an example. We would have if we hadn't had these questions about the books. But what's going to happen next week is I go and I create what's going to happen tomorrow and Saturday. I don't even know how you spell colliding cultures. How bad is that? Create my module, bada bing. There's nothing in there now, so it's not published, but I'm going to upload the questions just like I did here. Now this says Indigenous America, so I'm not going to put that there, but dollars to donuts, it's going to be, well, remember what I told you, you skip ahead to teaching materials, you look here. Gosh, I'd be surprised if these weren't the colliding cultures questions. Okay, so they'll be in that module along with my lecture and along with the other things, the links to the podcast and other things that I have mentioned in the syllabus. Okay, is that clear? Can I get some reaction here, please?
Yes,
A
quite
question
clear.
in the chat.
There was a question. Crap, I think in the chat I'm not allowed to see if I'm in. Oh, maybe I am allowed to see it. Samantha, yes, that's because this week we're not doing. Samantha's asking if you don't see the names after these questions. It's because, well, I didn't do it for this week because we're not. We would have done it. We would have talked today. Oh, I don't want materials. I want modules. Modules. Oh, wait a minute. I'm in the wrong class. Sorry. Modules. So yeah, Samantha, yeah, Samantha, your names are not after this one, after any of these questions, because we're not going to do these questions. This is why I called it a trial run. Okay, that's why this module is called it a trial run. We're going to start officially with, and this is what Alex is asking me. So do we have any sort of discussion questions due for this week? That of all chapter 1, no, except what I would like you to do is just try this on your own. And then starting tomorrow and Saturday, this stuff for chapter 2 is going to come up. Does that make sense, Alex? Does that answer your question? Alex, you there? Sorry, I can't see.
Yeah, it answers my question.
Okay. Ordinary, that wouldn't have happened except I screwed this thing up, and also that Panopto is not taking my videos. I made these, well, I think nice videos, and it won't even let me, for some strange reason, Canvas won't even let me put the YouTube links like I put in before. So I'm trying to get that fixed after class today. Okay, so any other questions like that or about anything? What I did last, I don't want to just drag that to semester, I want this to go to everyone. Especially in the beginning parts of the semester, beginning of the semester, if you have any questions, call me. Okay? I've been trying to respond to your email messages immediately, right? But that can't always happen because I'm not always in front of my computer. Sometimes I'm down in the archives and I'm not able to get Wi-Fi. Okay, but if anything goes wrong or anything like that, call me or text me, and I'll try to get back to you right away. I want, especially in the beginning of the semester, to get this stuff right, because then I hope it doesn't get too repetitious and boring. Then the class continues to run this way for the rest of the semester, if you see what I mean. The structure by which you will have handled the questions in chapter 1 or chapter 2 is the same as the structure you will use to handle the questions in chapter 14. Is that hitting home with you?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Stop sharing screen. Okay, so, all right. Any other questions like that or like about anything? Now, a lot of professors don't want to give out the number. I don't mind because it's just me and my son here. It's not like I have a thriving social life. You're not going to interrupt, anything. So just, I'd much rather nip problems in the bud early on than have them fester for the whole course of the term. You must have some questions. I will say this about your section: you have more pictures than the morning section. Morning section is all blank screens with just the name. Your section, you actually put, many of you put your pictures, so that's good.
Is anyone else here having the issue under modules of accessing the book itself? I can get the first page, but as soon as I click to the next to actually be able to read it, I get that I'm not allowed into it.
Uh-oh. Let me see. let me see then. Okay, if you go to modules, don't, please, I hope this is not a problem. Damn it, this will really piss me off if it's a problem.
I just checked mine and it's doing the same thing for me, but it wasn't doing it when I opened it from the syllabus instead of modules.
Yeah, okay, well, sorry about that. Who asked the question first?
It was me, David. I was the same thing. I was able to go to the syllabus and get to it, but the one with the links, the non-PDF version, is in the modules, and that's the one I can't access.
Okay, well, if you go to, can you see my screen?
Yes.
You see this and you got Liberty there.
Mm-hmm.
Lady Liberty. Right above her head is American Yacht main text. Click that. And then that will take you to, I didn't realize that was so clumsy. Sorry. The syllabus should be the one that takes you right there, but then some people complained, they said they didn't understand that. So I thought putting in the modules might help, but if the syllabus is the way to get it, then do that. If that's, syllabus is obviously the fast way to get it. Or you don't have this extra step to take. Or you can just Google American Yacht and it'll come up. The reason why the authors called this the American Yacht, yacht means a raucous noise, rough language, vigorous language. Well, they're being super clever, but the idea is a bunch of scholars contributed this. But also, you search American Yacht, ain't nothing else going to come up but this. If you search American history till 1865, you're going to be buried. It's another reason I like this book. At least I don't think if you yeah, see, it's all this book. It's nothing else.
Roger, thank you.
Okay. So I guess that is the doing it through the modules is a kind of a pain in the ass way, but at least it's there. If you're, I know a lot of students are just on Canvas all the time, and a lot of other classes are very heavy Canvas users. So I just thought that might help. But so yeah, click where it's at the link in the following to main text. Anybody else? Is there a group chat for this class? Junior, are you referring to I use both, Kirsten, both PowerPoints and verbally lecture. Junior, a couple of semesters ago, I think it was in the spring, some student set up some sort of group chat for the course where all of you could talk together without me being involved. I don't know if that runs through Canvas or through whatever. I forgot what he called it. I said, hey, everybody, I'm going to set up a blah, blah, blah for this course. And everyone joined in on it. And, but I wasn't allowed, obviously. Do any of you know what that is? Is that a standard thing like, I don't know, Twitter for this course? Is it called Groupie or Group Me?
There's a Group Me and there's also Discord that are commonly used.
Yeah. Well, please, as far as I'm concerned, feel free to do that and go and complain about me or whatever you want. Make fun of me, whatever you want, together as students. It's very good if students work together, it's always good. So however you want to do that, if that's the best way, just make sure to tell everybody, but don't tell me unless you really want me. Well, because I'm not going to log on to GroupMe, just trust me. But I think that's what a student did a couple of semesters ago, and I think it would be great if someone did it this semester. So I'll leave that in your capable hands to manage. Okay. Any other questions, problems, concerns? I'm going to stop share so I can get back and see all of you again. Is that what you meant by that? Junior? Is that what you meant when you use their group chat for this class? Yes. Okay. All right. So okay, take the ball and run with it there. Now obviously when I was in college there wasn't any internet, but we used to do stuff like this all the time. We would have the class would meet and study groups at different times or whatever, you know, half the time we would spend gossiping about the professor. So please feel free. Okay. All right. Any other questions? All righty. Well, I'll end it there and start looking at Canvas tomorrow and Saturday for the other stuff. All right. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Adios.
Take
Have
it.
a good
Bye.
one.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one.
Have a good one.
Thanks.